Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something huge, how simple lines of code are actually becoming lines of power. I mean, from your job to how we vote, we're going to break down how tech isn't just changing things, it's rewriting the entire rulebook for politics and, well, for all of us.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll get a grip on what this technopolitical landscape even is. Then, we'll look at how tech can be a tool for the people and a tool for control. From there, we'll see how it's shaking up democracy, what happens when it's used in a crisis, and wrap up by looking at what our algorithmic future might hold. Let's get into it.
Okay, first things first, let's talk about this new landscape. Before we get into all the crazy examples, we really need to understand what we even mean by technopolitics. You know, it's one of those words you hear a lot, but what's really behind it is, well, it's a pretty big deal.
So, at its heart, technopolitics is all about strategically using tech to get political things done. But look, this isn't just about a politician's Twitter account. No. We're talking about something way deeper. It's about how the very foundation of our digital world is being used to launch movements, to change who holds the power, and to manage entire populations. It's a whole new ballgame.
Right, so how does this actually look in the real world? Well, the thing you have to remember is that technology is almost never neutral. It's always this double-edged sword. It can be a powerful tool for empowering regular people, but it can also be an incredibly effective tool for control.
So let's look at the first edge of that sword. Technology is giving everyday folks a window into what the powerful are doing, a level of transparency that honestly would have sounded like science fiction just a couple of decades back.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Satellite imagery. This used to be something only superpowers had. Now, it's commercially available. So you have journalists and activist groups who can literally buy satellite photos to keep an eye on conflict zones or track deforestation and use that evidence to call out official government stories. It's a complete change in who gets the power to see what's really happening.
But like we said, there's always the other side of the coin, right? So for every amazing story about DNA evidence freeing an innocent person, you have police departments getting their hands on military-grade surveillance gear. And get this, even those friendly neighborhood apps can turn into tools for a new kind of digital policing. And that often just ends up amplifying old biases. It's this constant push and pull, a real balancing act of power that's rarely, if ever, equal.
And this isn't just happening out in the streets or on the internet. This kind of tech-driven control is making its way into the workplace. And it's getting incredibly personal. We're talking about something that hits you right in the wallet.
And look, this isn't some far-off sci-fi concept. It's happening right now. These algorithmic systems, which were kind of tested out in the gig economy, are now showing up in all sorts of regular jobs. So your performance, how fast you work, even what the market is doing, all that data gets fed into a program. And that program decides in real time what you're worth and what you get paid. This completely changes the power dynamic between workers and their employers.
Okay, so if tech is changing our jobs and our neighborhoods, you can bet it's also shaking up the very foundation of democracy. But here's the million-dollar question. Is it for the better or for the worse?
And this is where you really see two camps emerge. On one side, you've got the techno-optimists. They see all these digital tools and think, great, this gives a voice to more people, it creates new ways to get involved. But then you have the techno-skeptics, and they're sounding the alarm, warning about a future they call computercracy, where our democracy is secretly run by algorithms. They're basically saying we need some serious ethical rules, and we need them now.
And here's the really ironic part. To even begin to understand how tech is changing politics, what are researchers using? More technology. That's right, they're using powerful new computational tools to dissect this new digital political world.
Just imagine this for a second. We can now sift through millions upon millions of tweets to watch how an idea catches fire and spreads online. We can use mapping software to see political divides literally down to the city block. These aren't just small insights. These tools are giving us this incredibly detailed, high-definition picture of our political world, showing us patterns that, before this, we never even knew existed.
Now, this whole technopolitics thing isn't just about what happens during an election or in some heated online debate. No, its reach goes way, way deeper. It's woven into the very fabric of our society, especially when it comes to how we handle a major crisis.
Let me give you a really interesting example. Let's take a look at Japan. Over there, AI isn't just some buzzword or a vague idea. It's actually being put to work on the ground to solve very real, very local problems.
So, Japan is dealing with some big demographic challenges, an aging population, fewer babies being born, and what are they doing?
Some local governments are actually using AI to help them craft better policies. They're even using robots in schools. It's a wild glimpse into a future where technology is a hands-on tool for managing huge societal shifts.
And when a real crisis hits, think a natural disaster or a pandemic, this whole technopolitical toolbox just kicks into high gear. Suddenly you see this whole array of tech being rolled out. We're talking digital IDs to keep track of who gets aid, drones for both surveillance and delivering supplies, and huge data algorithms trying to predict what happens next. This is a totally new way of managing a crisis.
Okay, so we've seen a lot. We've gone from satellites in the hands of activists all the way to algorithms that decide your paycheck. After all that, what's the big idea we should be taking away from this? What does this algorithmic future really look like?
Here's the single most important thing to remember. Technology is not neutral. It never is. The impact it has is shaped completely by the human choices, the political values that are baked right into its code. Every single decision, what data gets collected, what result the algorithm aims for, who's in charge, all of it, every last bit is a political choice.
And this really gets to the heart of it. The big idea here is that code isn't just a tool for doing things. It's a political technology that is actively shaping us. Think about that. The algorithms filtering your social media feed, the ones setting pay rates, the ones watching our neighborhoods, they're not just passive. They are actively influencing who we become, what we think is true, and even how we act as citizens.
So that leaves us with one final, and maybe the most important question of all. If code is the new language of power, if it's literally writing the new rules for our society, then the biggest political question we face in this century has to be this one. Who gets to write the code?